Hello, my name is Makiza Latifa and you're welcome to this week's episode of China Now, the only show dedicated to providing the world with a global overview of today's China. On this show, we bring you all that there is to know about how China works, how China thinks, and how China views itself and the rest of the world. Let's begin with China Currents, the segment of the show that talks about all the latest news and trending stories in China. Today, our host, Kris, brings us details of the reappointment of Wang Yi as China's new foreign minister. He'd also bring us details of the Chinese Politburo meeting, which sought to analyze the current economic situation in China. And then, details of China's lunar project. So stay tuned for these and many more stories.
China Currents is a weekly news talk show from China to the world. We cover viral news about China every week and also give you the newest updates on China's cutting-edge technologies. Let's get started. Hi, welcome to China Currents. I'm Kris. On July 25th, China's top legislature voted to appoint Wang Yi as the new foreign minister. Meanwhile, Qin Gang, who previously served as China's ambassador to the United States from 2021 to 2023, will step down from his post as foreign minister. Wang Yi, 69, was China's foreign minister for almost a decade, from 2013 to 2022. He has been an influential figure in shaping China's foreign policy and has played an important role in strengthening China's diplomatic ties around the world. In June, Wang Yi met with his US counterpart Antony Blinken while the latter was in China, and they recently met a Jakarta meeting to promote dialogue between the two countries and work to stabilize China-US relations. Before the reappointment, Wang Yi served as CPC's senior member for foreign affairs, the top diplomat in Chinese politics. Although this announcement has fueled rumors why Qin was removed, the reshuffle of key positions in the Chinese government's diplomatic body reflects its ongoing effort to maintain a dynamic and proactive international engagement. As China navigates a complex and evolving global landscape, this appointment reaffirms China's commitment to multilateralism, cooperation, and peaceful resolution of conflicts. The first country Wang Yi visited as he reassumed his post in the foreign ministry was Turkey. A day after reappointment on July 26th, Wang Yi met with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Ankara. During the talk, Erdogan welcomed China's enterprises to expand their investments in Turkey and expressed Turkey's willingness to maintain communication and coordination with China on international and regional issues, such as Ukraine. He also stated that Turkey does not support NATO's increased activities in the Asia-Pacific region. Wang Yi's visit marks the highest-level visit from a Chinese official to Turkey since 2021. And besides Turkey, Wang recently attended the BRICS National Security Advisors meeting in Johannesburg, where he remarked that BRICS mechanism is vital for dialogue and cooperation among major developing countries. Next up, on July 24th, Chinese Politburo held a meeting to analyze the current economic situation, focusing on the domestic real estate market. For the first time, Politburo underlined a new situation where significant changes have occurred in a supply-demand relationship over the real estate market. As an indicator, the conference called for timely adjustment and optimization of real estate policies. According to the Minister of Housing and Construction, the new policies lift the restrictions for people aiming to buy a second housing and lower the down payment ratios. Mortgages no longer check whether a person have taken out loans before, aiming to make buying property easier. Despite a steady recovery in China's Q2 GDP growth, residential property prices have been dwindling for months, matched with the change in supply-demand relationship. Recently, Guangzhou Evergrande, which used to be China's top real estate developer, is reported to have a loss of 100 billion euro. The company is on the brink of bankruptcy, and there's no sign indicating that it's too big to fall. On the internet, netizens hold a very mixed feeling. Some people welcome the Politburo's promise of strengthening affordable housing and promoting the renovation of urban properties. The netizens interpret the promise as a measure to rebuild the confidence of consumers. Further investment might not be ideal for an overheated market, while the idle properties can fulfill the demand of citizens and save real estate enterprises from a market cool down. As the Politburo stressed out, housing is for living, not for speculation, and major changes happening in real estate, which was one of the main engines that pushed China's economic growth in the past decade. However, there are also netizens who hold pessimistic views. Some netizens argue, although the policy removes some barriers to apply for mortgage, we still have little money to spare. Some finance advisors argue that despite the goodwill of the policy, people's confidence towards future economy is somewhat low and hurts their willingness to take out mortgage, which is fundamental to the real estate market. Next up, let's keep tracking China's lunar project. On July 22nd, China successfully carried out a trial test on the main engine of the Long March 10, a new carrier rocket designed for moon landing missions. The test assessed all the requirements for the engine and provided strong support for the solidification for its technical state, the establishment of the technical baseline of the product, and improving reliability. China has just announced its plan to land astronauts on the moon by the year 2030. Instead of building one giant rocket that carries all, China plans to launch a pair of rockets, each carrying half the equipment and supplies that the project needs. The success of the main engine marks a significant step in completing China's ambitious lunar project. On China's social media platform, netizens are excited about the progress. Can't wait to see a Chinese man walking the moon, they commented. Next up, we have two pieces of news about national security. On July 20th, during a security conference in Colorado, William Burns, director of the Central Intelligence Agency, claimed that the United States has made progress in rebuilding its intelligence network in China after having lost most of its agents a decade ago. Burns also stated that the United States has strong human intelligence capability in its spy operations. In response to Burns' comment, on July 24th, a spokesperson from the Chinese Foreign Ministry vowed to take all necessary measures to resolutely safeguard national security in a press briefing. Information warfare has been a controversial topic among Chinese netizens. The supporters believe that the West is infiltrating China's online discussions to stir up resentment, and the opposition claimed that such warfare is merely another witch hunt that violates China's free speech. Now, as Burns admits the espionage activities of the US and a strong human intelligence capability it possesses, the long-divided public opinion shifted towards Chinese government. Online discussions show unconditional support for the response by China's foreign ministry, condemning the US's open provocation. Interestingly, Burns was reported to have come to China on a secret mission in May. The reason for that visit, according to him, should be reducing tension and keeping communication between both sides. While considering his comment on the rebuilding of spy network in China, come on, Bill, we all know what's brought you here. Speaking of spying activities, China is one of the most attacked countries in cyber attack. On July 25th, the Wuhan Earthquake Monitoring Center, a key institution responsible for monitoring seismic activity in the region, suffered a cyber attack initiated by overseas organizations. The compromised equipment was immediately sealed off, and an investigation was launched by the public security authorities. According to a statement released by the Wuhan Public Security Bureau on July 26th, a Trojan horse program that aims to control and steal seismic intensity data has been discovered. This is a very sensitive data that shows the intensity and magnitude of an earthquake. According to experts, the data is taken into account when building certain military defense facilities. Therefore, the cyber attack is considered a serious threat to national security. Although the exact identity and motive of these groups remain unknown at this time, it's strongly suspected that this attack came from the United States, following their previous cyber attack on the Northwestern Polytechnical University in Xi'an, Shanxi Province in June 2022. The attack on China's vital infrastructure highlights the growing importance of cyber warfare in the ongoing geopolitical tension between China and the United States. Next up, let's take a look at the industries in China. On July 22nd, state media CCTV reported that China has just achieved a mass production of domestically made magnetic resonance imaging instrument, breaking through a long-standing foreign technical blockade. MRI technology plays a crucial role in diagnosing various major illnesses such as cardiovascular, neurological, and tumor-related conditions. However, the production technology for MRI equipment has been subject to foreign restrictions for a long time. After a prolonged period of independent research and strenuous efforts, China has achieved a major milestone with the successful development of domestically produced MRI equipment. The achievement showcases China's capability to innovate in the medical technology sector. Experts, scholars, and medical institutions have expressed high praise and curiosity regarding China's independent research and development of MRI equipment. They believe that these achievements signifies a significant leap in China's technological innovation in the medical field and contributes positively to the advancement of global medical science and technology. China is a newcomer in MRI equipment, but in the field of electric vehicles, Chinese companies have already taken the lead. On July 26, Volkswagen Group, the German auto group that owns Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, and Lamborghini, announced a long-term technical cooperation agreement with Chinese EV maker XPeng to jointly develop two B-class battery electric vehicles for the Chinese market, which are expected to be launched in 2026. Volkswagen will invest $700 million in XPeng to acquire 4.99% stake and secure an observer seat on XPeng's board of directors. On the same day, Volkswagen subsidiary Audi also signed a strategic memorandum of understanding with SAIC Group, China's largest automaker, to develop intelligent connected vehicles. Recently, Audi admitted it's been left behind in the race of electric vehicles. Many Chinese netizens believe the cooperation will promote technological complementarity between the Chinese and German automotive industry. If everything goes according to plan, the cooperation should give German auto giant a chance to catch up in the heated race of electric vehicles. Next up, social media giant TikTok is set to launch an e-commerce program in August, aiming to help Chinese merchants to sell products to American consumers. According to a report from the Wall Street Journal, TikTok is building an Amazon-like online shopping center which integrates different channels where users can view and purchase goods in a single page. It will provide a suite of services ranging from storage to shipping to merchants in China, stepping up its rivalry such as Shein and Temu. Some influencers in China had apparently predicted TikTok's move into e-commerce. For example, a Chinese influencer with more than 100 million followers on Douyin announced 3 months ago that he would launch a TikTok channel for cross-border e-commerce. Many Chinese netizens believe that e-commerce program will create new opportunities for small and medium-sized enterprises, while others wonder if the US government might use it as a pretext to impose sanctions on TikTok. Last but not least, on July 27th, China, North Korea, and Russia commemorated the 70th anniversary of the armistice agreement that ended the Korean War. Chinese and Russian delegations met with the country's top leader Kim Jong-un and attended a series of events in Pyongyang. The Chinese delegation was led by Li Hongzhong, vice chairman of the National People's Congress Standing Committee and a member of the Politburo. The Russian delegation was led by Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. The Korean War is known as the war to resist US aggression and aid Korea in China. It's often regarded as a victory to US aggression in East Asia and a first victory against Western imperialist power in modern Chinese history since 1840. On social media platforms, state media vow to inherit the great spirit that Chinese people and military displayed during the war. For netizens, the war and its anti-US hegemony connotation has become more vivid since China is facing new challenges from hegemonic acts in the new era. That's all for today. Thank you for watching this episode of China Currents. If you have any thoughts and comments about the show, please reach us at the email address below. I'm Kris, looking forward to hearing from you, and see you next time.
Thank you, Kris. Next on the show is Threshold with Lisa. Here's where we bring you details of all the amazing technological innovations happening in today's China. Did you know that nicotine reduces mortality rates by 40%? Not in humans though. Well, scientists at the Chinese Academy of Sciences have conducted some research on this. Lisa has all the details on today's Threshold. She'll also bring you other tech-related stories in this episode. Stay glued to your TV set.
Hi, I'm Lisa and this is Threshold in China. Today we are going to share some exciting tech innovations and announcements that happened in China last week. Nicotine, an addictive chemical found in tobacco plants, can cause serious health problems, like we all know. But a group of scientists from the Chinese Academy of Science has discovered that nicotine can have a positive impact on aging in mice. The scientists split 48 healthy young mice into two groups, the experimental group and the control group. Every day, the experimental group drank water infused with a dose of 2 milligrams of nicotine per milliliter, while the control group did not. Over a year, the control group of mice, equivalent to a 50-year-old human, exhibit signs of aging, such as having white fur, slow motions, and poor response time. In contrast, the mice from the experimental group remained in a state of middle age and more energetic. Scientists found that the telomeres in the experimental group's muscle and heart tissue were significantly longer than those in the controlled group. Telomeres are protective caps at the end of chromosomes that shortens as we age. The longer the telomeres, the younger the physiological age. The scientists also observed that the survival rate of the experimental group of mice in their later years was as high as 91%, while the controlled group only had a 54%. This implies that taking nicotine reduced the death rates of mice by nearly 40%. To investigate further, the scientists found that the low dose of nicotine enhanced the activity of a special enzyme, NAMPT, which leads to an increase of NAD+, a molecule that helps cells regenerate energy and repair DNA damage. The scientists examined the brain, heart, liver, muscle, and kidney of the mice when they are 2, 6, and 12 months of age. What they discovered was a gradual decrease in NAMPT activity as the mice grew older. But after administering nicotine through drinking water when they are 6 to 12 months old, the researchers found that nicotine was able to restore NAMPT activity in all tissues. While the findings are extraordinary, it is important to stress that the research was conducted on mice. The same cannot be said for other animals until further research. And the nicotine the mice were getting per dose was 5 to 10 times lower than the nicotine intake from regular smoking. Researchers have warned against the use of nicotine as means of anti-aging because smoking kills, and nicotine addiction can lead to a range of serious health problems. China has begun drilling its second 10,000-meter deep mega-well in the hopes of tapping into a vast natural gas reserve. The new well, called Shengdi-Chuanke-1, is located in Sichuan province southwest of China. The target depth is 10,520 meters, probably the most difficult drilling project in the world. The complex underground condition and the intricate geological structure add to the challenge. At depths exceeding 10,000 meters, the temperature can soar to 224 degrees Celsius, making metal drilling tools as limp as cooked pasta. And the ultra-high pressure, as the chief engineer Wang Yi said, was akin to diving into the deep sea of 13,800 meters, far exceeding the seawater pressure of the Mariana Trench, which is the deepest ocean in the world. But why is China investing so much on ultra-deep well drilling? Unlike the Middle Eastern countries where oil could be easily extracted from the surface, China's most concentrated oil and gas resources are buried at the average depth of over 6,000 meters. Therefore, ultra-deep exploration and drilling has become a formidable challenge that must be overcome. Ultra-deep is a term reserved for wells that extend beyond 9,000 meters. They are widely regarded as some of the most technically challenging projects in the oil and gas engineering industries. And it's China's second go at ultra-deep drilling, following its first attempt in Tamen Basin, a petroleum-rich region in Xinjiang province, and holds the title of Asia's deepest well. Against the backdrop of geopolitical conflicts, power shortage, and global price fluctuations, energy security has shot up to the top of China's priority list. In response, the country has been putting in enormous efforts to increase domestic energy output by 2025 as a part of its current 5-year plan, while also pursuing clean energy collaboration with other nations. China's natural gas production has been on an upward trend since 2021, and it's the world's 4th largest producer. Moreover, its natural gas supply has now surpassed that of oil. The Shengdi-Chuanke-1 well is therefore a vital part of China's energy strategy. If this project succeeds, a new ultra-deep natural gas storage area is expected to be on Earth. Beyond this practical objective, the team also has a more academic goal: to collect geological data from these extreme depths to explore the evolution of the Earth, the origin of life, and climate change. The project's deputy manager, Ding Wei, linked this ambitious 10,000-meter exploration to a major natural project on par with lunar exploration. Recently, videos showing drones extinguishing fires in mid-air went viral on Chinese social media. A rocket streaked across the sky and slammed into the fire building. Those rockets were launched by drones, which were equipped with powder extinguishing agents that could smother fires and prevent them from spreading. These fire drones were made by various Chinese manufacturers, including the well-known DJI and Guofei Aviation. They also have powder sprayers and thermal cameras installed. Drones like these have come with unique advantages. First, the conventional way to put out a fire on a high-rise building would require a fleet of fire trucks with powerful water cannons. But these trucks aren't cheap. According to Firefighter Insider, a basic fire truck or engine with no equipment on it can cost from $250,000 to $6 million US, depending on the type of vehicle. Then there's the equipment too that can cost more than the truck itself. Meanwhile, a typical fire drone costs around $7,000. Of course, a rescue mission would normally require several of these drones, but the price gap is significant. Also, the fire scene is often highly variable and complex. Some might be a high-rise building where fire departments have difficulties in reaching. Drones, on the other hand, are not limited by terrain and light. They have a high mobility, and their visible light camera and the thermal imaging camera can penetrate smoke and some building obstructions, obtaining temperature distribution and achieve precise firefighting. Of course, drones are not going to replace fire trucks entirely, but they may play a more important role in the future. Drones are being rapidly adopted in diverse use, from disaster response to entertaining to hazardous infrastructure inspection. China is the global leader in drone technology, and experts forecast massive growth for the Chinese drone industry in the coming years. From 2017 to 2024, the project compound annual growth rate for the industry is over 40%. For most of us, a lack of sleep can have an effect on our emotional stability. We tend to be more grumpy when sleep deprived. But for those who are battling depression, a lack of sleep might temporarily lift their spirits. Professor Wang Yi and his team studied the effect of total sleep deprivation on emotional state and function connectivity networks. The study involves 38 healthy individuals, 30 severely depressed patients, and the controlled group was 60 individuals who were allowed to sleep undisturbed. As expected, most patients' mood worsened after a sleepless night. However, 33% of the depressed patients experienced improved emotions. The researchers used a technique called RSfMRI to map brain activity while the individuals were at rest. By observing the conversations between different regions of the brain, the researchers found that staying awake all night enhanced the connectivity between the two brain regions, the amygdala and the anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, which is often linked to better emotional state in some healthy and depressed individuals. The amygdala is like the alarm system of our body. It processes threat or fear that sends signals to other parts of the brain, promoting them to respond accordingly. Like when you are walking alone in a dark street and hearing footsteps behind you. That feeling of fear is processed by your amygdala. And the ACC plays an important role in controlling and managing emotional state or affecting regulation. An explanation offered by the researchers for these individual differences is the duration of rapid eye movement sleep. Sleep isn't a uniform state but occurs in cycles, one of which is REM sleep, where most of our dreaming happens. Researchers have previously shown that severe depression is linked to abnormal REM sleep. However, when it comes to total deprivation, the lack of REM sleep might offer some participants a much-needed break, allowing them to regain control over the amygdala from the bottom top. This surprising interplay between sleep deprivation and emotion regulation could provide a new direction for depression treatment, turning the nightmare of sleeplessness into a potential lifeboat. And that's all for today's Threshold. As always, please let us know if you like this new section on science and technology in China, and we will do more in the future.
Thanks for the tech updates as always, Lisa. Let's now head straight to the Thinkers Forum, where our scholars and thinkers share their expert knowledge about China and the rest of the world. On today's episode, we shed more light on the electricity crisis in South Africa and the inputs made so far by the largest trade union in the country, the National Union of Metal Workers South Africa, NUMSA. Here's an interview with the spokesperson of the union, Pakamile Majula.
My name is Pakamile Majula. In March, we took the South African government to court over the fact that they were implementing this rolling blackout. We said that this is a violation of the Constitution because in terms of our Bill of Rights, the South African government has to guarantee energy for certain critical sectors like police stations, like schools, and also public hospitals. Patients are dying in hospitals. Babies in the neonatal wards are dying because the ventilators stop working. Our electricity supply is provided for by a state-owned entity called Eskom. Eskom is 100% owned by the South African government. Now, our biggest challenge is that our government has been heavily influenced by neoliberal policies coming from the World Bank and the IMF, who want the South African government to privatize these state-owned entities. And so the South African government has started embarking on a process. The government has stopped spending money on doing proper maintenance in the coal-fired power stations of Eskom. People keep saying that having a state-owned entity is expensive, but we are arguing that it is much more expensive, it is much more costly to have rolling blackouts. I mean, the rolling blackouts mean that our economy is not growing. It's only growing at something like 1 to 2% per year. That's a disaster. There's no business that can operate with 12 hours of power cuts a day. How do you operate your business? What production is happening? And we are seeing many small and medium-sized companies just closing and shutting down and retrenching workers. Part of the second problem that feeds into this electricity crisis is that the South African government has been dictated to by Western powers who are saying, you need to stop relying on coal and you need to start relying on renewable energy. Even countries like Germany that have high levels of renewable energy, they still rely on coal and nuclear and gas as a backup to power their industries. But somehow the South African government has been misled to believe that they can power their industries on renewable energy. It's a bizarre, ridiculous, nonsensical notion. They have allowed these renewable energy companies, which are privately owned and are part of the privatization of Eskom, to play a role that is also affecting and not helping the power crisis. We cannot rush to stop our reliance on coal. The developing world, certainly Africa, are not the ones who are responsible for climate change. The biggest emitters of pollution are the developed world. We still need these fossil fuels for development. We still need to build our industrial sector. We need to build more manufacturing in the country. The United States has offered South Africa an 8.5 billion rand loan to stop using coal. We are calling on the South African government to reject the loan, because if we rush to accept loans, first of all, it's not going to stop load shedding. Secondly, we have to pay back those loans. Who's going to pay back those loans? Our economy right now is not growing. How are we going to be able to afford to pay back those loans? It means that generations of South Africans will be poor for decades. The Chinese government does not allow capital to dominate or to dictate the economy or economic policy. We think that the South African government should do the same. And this is what happens when you allow capital to just run rampant and not have any restrictions or limitations. You've got to have a balancing process. And what the SOEs did, the roles that they played, was to balance. They played a role of balancing the capitalist and ensuring that at the end of the day, the developmental agenda is implemented, not the agenda of rampant profiteering for the benefit of, by the way, an elite minority of capitalists. South Africa is a country that has a very dark past. We have just come out of a system that we call apartheid, which is a legal form of racialized segregation, where the government implemented laws that discriminated against the majority of people who are black. So if you were, for example, black, you could not access our healthcare. Your educational system was deliberately made inferior. So most black people were not even able to access universities. We could not become doctors or nurses or engineers. And then in 1994, for the first time, we were allowed to vote. And in that vote, black government was elected under the leadership of the African National Congress.
This is one of the most important moments in the life of our country. I stand before you filled with deep pride and joy.
Even since then, we still have a lot of challenges. South Africa today, after that democratic moment, is the most unequal society in the world. We've got extremely high levels of inequality. The gap between the rich and the poor is very wide in my country. We are a country with extremely high levels of poverty, high levels of unemployment. The unemployment rate in South Africa is 43%. That's almost half the population that's not working. And those who are most affected by that are young people, and in particular, women. And in the workplace, you will find that there are situations where women are deeply affected, where, for example, they will experience sexual harassment, where bosses will demand sexual favors for jobs or for work, where bosses will discriminate against women for job opportunities, where the assumption is because you're a woman, you can't do it, you know. A more recent example is the auto company Ford. It's an American auto company. There is a worker who is being sexually harassed by her boss. Ford is refusing to take the necessary steps to fire this guy or to discipline him and take him through a proper process. It is our job as a trade union to raise these issues, to make sure that the public is aware about how some of these companies are mistreating workers. We were exposing the company for internal racist practices where they wouldn't allow, for example, employees to wear headscarves, which are a traditional thing in South Africa. It's bizarre that you operate in Africa, but you have a problem with African people wearing headscarves. We are the largest trade union in the country. We are representing ordinary men and women with children who care about a better life. I feel that NUMSA members are an inspiration, and it is the courage of the working class, their bravery, their militancy that has actually got me working in this space.
Away from South Africa, we head back to China and focus on Chinese industrial studies and the growth of China's automobile exports. Let's take a listen to this interview by Feng Kaidong, who is a lecturer at the Department of Public Policy at the Peking University.
流浪文化的观众，大家好，我叫冯凯栋，我现在是北京大学政府管理学院公共政策系的这个教师。我的研究方向主要是创新政策与产业政策。然后呢，我长期关注我们国内的工业研究，像这个汽车工业的研究、通讯设备制造业的研究、集成电路工业研究等等这样一些领域吧。在一个复杂技术工业里头，其实不同的技术之间是有层次的。最困难的技术永远都是那些进行系统集成的技术。也就是说，如果我要进入汽车工业的话，那么如何设计一台汽车？这台汽车里面应该包括哪些技术？或者说每一个技术它们之间应当如何配合？ 这个系统集成技术其实是最困难的。这种系统集成能力，首先它是个很复杂的一个东西，你不同的零部件之间，它所体现出来的性能，你如何进行有效的 trade off， 也就有效的取舍。这个彼得·德鲁克在1947年很早的时候就说过，汽车工业是工业当中的工业。他的意思就是说，汽车工业是诸多工业的出口，汽车工业承担了运作数量庞大的其他工业的一个功能。也就是无数的工业所提供的元器件或者生产加工职能都会在汽车工业这里汇聚。你能把一个汽车工业运作好，其实是相当于你把一个数量庞大的这些工业门类给协调好，所以它能非常好的体现大工业的运作的经验。这个其实是对于中国的企业而言，不管是在后发赶超阶段，还是在目前，从来都不是简单的从国外的企业那里可以照搬借鉴抄袭过来的那个过程。哪怕说我们模仿别人已经有的汽车产品，但是任何一个汽车产品它都不会直接把这个系统性知识给呈现出来。系统性知识其实都是我们通过学习这个认真的这个分解别人的产品，然后再重新把这些东西组织起来，然后以我们的方式，通过我们的采购体系，然后通过不停的试错给发展起来的。所以呢，我们在早期自主创新的时候，其实我们也有挺多从今天来看根本可能就今天的消费者完全是看不上眼、不入流的一些产品。但是也正是由于那些产品以及基于这些产品的不断努力的这样一个基础，才能够有今天中国自主创新企业这个非常强大的这样一些技术实力。其实新能源汽车领域可以是一个非常好的一个例子，因为只要市场机制在起作用，只要这个产品的整个基本架构还在那，对吧？那么对于部件的供应而言，它就会产生一个价高者得的那种竞争效应。因为一旦被卡脖子了，意味着这个领域的供给出现的稀缺，供给出现稀缺就意味着这个地方的超额利润是存在的，对吧？谁能够解决这个问题，就能够从创新当中获得更大的收益，所以它会引发更强的这样一些创新竞争效应。今天我们的这个新能源汽车工业里头，我们基本上实现了整个产业链的自立自强、自主可控。尽管在某些领域里面，我们的本土的供应并不是世界上最好的，但是在所有的领域里头都有中国本土的供应商。我相信这些国外的供应商也都非常的清楚，卡脖子只会导致中国本土的这个供应商的技术力量发展的更为迅速，来填补他们退出之后所让出的这样一个市场空间，对于国外的这些厂商的长期发展而言是不利的。所以从这个角度上来讲，对于新能源汽车工业而言，我认为在这个领域里头不会存在着这个实质性的这个卡脖子的这样一种现象。像美国2022年通过的2个法案嘛，一个是芯片与科学法案，另外一个也同样是在去年8月份通过的，也就是通胀削减法案。那个法案其实就是针对中国的新能源汽车产业，也就是主要针对从电池到新能源汽车整条产业链发起的一个通过国家大额补贴来这个应对跟中国的竞争的这样一个法案。所以从那个法案可以看出，这个新能源汽车它在起码从我们的对手那里来看，它是绝对是个非常非常重要的一个产业。它跟这个现代整个信息产业的基石，也就是芯片、集成电路，在美国人眼里看它的重要性完全是一样的。但是他们的问题可能还是他们的工业长期以来去工业化的这个程度太深了，他们想要恢复原来的那个美国在黄金时代、沸腾时代那样一个大工业的那个传统，可能相对而言是比较困难的。从这个逻辑出发，他们想通过跟中国的这个贸易战、科技战来解决他们的制造业方面的问题，也都是不可能够找到出路的。因为他们的症结归根到底是他们在他们国内的整个政治经济结构里头，并不是因为中国崛起而带来的，只是因为中国的崛起使他们这个资本获利的渠道相对来说减少了，同时也是因为看到中国的崛起，使得他们国内的这个分裂被进一步的加剧了，因此他们不得不回应中国崛起这样一个问题，也希望能够通过抑制中国的崛起，使得自己本身能够获得更大的战略空间。但是事实上他们归根到底，这个核心的问题还是由他们自己本国内部的社会问题所决定的。他们不少制造业的工厂就是在2008年金融危机的时候才关闭的， 所以对于他们来说，他们本国国内的这个社会矛盾问题，依然会成为他们想重振制造业当中一个非常大的一个障碍。我觉得新能源汽车产业恰恰又代表了一个非常可贵的我们在中国产业政策制定以及执行当中的新的经验。因为按照传统的我们国家的产业政策，我们往往会瞄准特定的产业领域，然后在特定的产业领域里头，我们会制定一个相应的项目，然后在这个项目里面包括这个特定的企业的参与者。有的时候只有1、2个这个被我们选定的这样一种技术方案，这样一种方式在计划经济时期，以及在原来我们通过合资生产以及最后变成这个世界工厂的这样一个模式里头，也就目标相对来说比较明确的这样一种模式之下是适用的。但是在当我们的新能源汽车产业已经前进到一个世界前沿的时候，这样一些政策可能就没有再像以前那样适用了，因为新的技术来源于哪里？对于特定某个领域里头，后面的创新型的企业是会这个有针对性的去解决这样一些技术问题，还是他们会另辟蹊径，找到一个替代性的方案绕过这个问题？这都是我们很难这个事先预知的。比如说像充电的制式上的这个区别，比如说像我们目前国内对于新能源汽车也有几条技术路线都是同样都支持的。第一个是纯电动驱动的汽车，对吧？纯插电式的汽车，另外一个插电式混动的汽车，除此之外还有一个氢燃料电池的汽车。这几个技术路线都是同样都在我们国家产业政策这样一个支持的框架之下，也就是说不再用我们传统那种产业政策的手段去选定企业、选定技术方案，因为传统的那样一种产业政策的手段，很有可能会由于我们政府在决策的时候信息不完备，或者我们整个工业的发展的整个能力有偏差，而导致产生了错误的选择。这样一种新型的产业政策，其实就是希望能够把更多的决定哪些技术应该得到发展的自主权让给这个市场去来决定。所以在2005年之后，在各个领域都保持了非常高的开放性。政府往往是在各个领域里面去推动这些不同领域里面组成类似于行业协会，或者说技术联盟或者论坛这样一种方式，去推动这些这个中间的平台去发展这个技术路线图。我们会希望在什么时间到达什么样的性能，谁能够实现在哪个时间点实现一个什么样的功能，那我们为你们提供相应的这样一些支持，以这样一种方式来充分激活市场上的灵活性和创造力。大家去争夺这个技术的前沿，那就是八仙过海各显神通，从而能够更好的撬动整个市场它本身的投资、它的创造性、它的这个竞争的效果。所以这事实上是我们整个产业政策在新能源汽车领域里面非常宝贵的经验。如果它能够被扩散到其他领域去的话，也许能够为我们在更大范围之内的产业政策的思考提供一些新的思路。我们目前汽车出口跟“一带一路”这个倡导有非常紧密的这样一些耦合吧，你可以这么说。我认为这也正是我们“一带一路”倡议的初衷，因为其实我们“一带一路”的这个整个倡议是为了，像用我们习总书记的话来讲，是要这个建立人类命运共同体，对吧？我们中国的这个现代化跟此前的资本主义国家的现代化不一样，对吧？像这个此前的几次全球化，要么是搞全球殖民，然后通过生产原材料的掠夺来完成工业化的过程。我相信我们中国所推动的这些区域之间的这个经济一体化，以及区域之间的经济合作，它会呈现出不一样的现代化的内涵。我们可能会更多的通过基础建设的投资来推动“一带一路”沿线不同的地区能够被纳入到工业化这样一个浪潮里面来，把更多的世界上的南方国家都能够纳入到一个范围庞大的这样一个工业经济循环里面来。所以呢，我们新能源汽车的出口，那当然会跟“一带一路”的这样一些投资项目有非常紧密的关系。因为如果没有“一带一路”项目在当地的这样一些基础设施的建设，以及对当地工矿事业一些投资的话，那么当地的消费者没有必要去购买新能源汽车，对吧？ 所以呢，当我们发现“一带一路”国家这么多的购买了来自中国的新能源汽车之后，它其实侧面反映了“一带一路”在当地的成功，对吧？他们改造了当地的基础设施，然后另外一个，它也反映了我们在各地的这些工矿事业的投资是卓有成效的，也就是通过工业化的发展，培养出新的这个收入阶层来，也就是这个当地的中等收入这个阶层。从而使得它能够更多的被纳入到像汽车的这样一种相对复杂、相对价格高的这样一些工业产品的消费群体里面来。所以呢，从这个角度上来说，我觉得我们汽车的出口向世界南方国家的增长，跟“一带一路”倡议本身的发展，它的耦合吧，不是一个偶然性事件，它们两者之间存在着非常深刻的这样一种关联。
Well, that's all for today's China Now. We hope you had a great time on the show as always. You can share with us your thoughts, feedback, comments, and suggestions through the email provided below. Thanks for watching and see you same time next week.